All right, just about 9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Thursday morning. Robin, your son is going to be 40.
Yes, he is.
Wow, 40 years old.
Yep.
Did you have that talk?
No.
That birds and bees talk?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I just
Did you
told him to
avoid
be
it?
careful.
Did you avoid it?
No, I did not. I just chatted with him, and
Your daughter is how old? 38?
she'll be 38 this year.
And
So
did you have the talk with her?
No, I just chatted, parent to child with them, told them what could happen if they, do stuff, and how I felt about whatever it was, and we had a great conversation. So it wasn't birds and bees. It was honest, hard facts, and we had a nice conversation.
There's a book that might help parents with this very topic. Dr. Karen Rayne is the author of the book. It's called Help Your Kids with Adolescence, a no-nonsense guide to puberty and the teenage years. Dr. Rayne is a sex educator for both children and adults. She provides advice and support to parents on how to educate children and teenagers about sex and sexuality. Good morning, Dr. Rayne. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for waiting through that long break there. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
In Austin. All right. Well, thank you for being on the air. This is a difficult topic. There's even a commercial that kind of makes fun of that moment when your child says, "Where do babies come from?" It's a car insurance commercial, but I think we all relate to that awkward moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of parents aren't quite sure what to say in that moment. And so can I tell a quick funny story?
Yes, I want to hear a funny story.
When my older daughter, when she was 4, she asked her dad, where did I come from? And, in his mind, he's like, oh my gosh, this is the moment. Where's Karen?
Oh, no.
Here. She's the one who knows how to do this. And as he's like going through all these thoughts in his head, she looks at him and she goes, earlier this morning, where was I?
Oh, how funny. I love that. Knocked him out of the ballpark. He was all set to go.
That's funny. So, well, you have to figure out how to answer the question honestly. I've had stories in my own family. I won't repeat them, but I can remember one of my nephews asking his mom, a real explicit sexual question. It was like, whoa, where'd you hear that? So I guess when Robin's children and my son were little, it was like my son's going to be 31. So it's a lot longer ago. And I think the world has changed so that, I don't know, the apps and the phones and everything, they're exposed to a lot of different things than we were or even our children were.
Yeah, they certainly can be. The amount of information on the internet and the ease with which it is accessible definitely raises the stakes for needing to be fully honest about everything around sex and sexuality, or your kids are going to think that you're out of touch and aren't worth talking to.
What do you do with the question about, am I a boy or a girl? What about that? Because that's in the news every day, that you don't have to be anything you don't want to be.
Yeah, my kids knew who they were.
What do you do with that one?
Gender identity is a really interesting question. And I think that as a parent, the best response is to listen to what your kids have to tell you, and tell them as much as you know. And that's where a book like this one comes in handy, because it provides information for the parents if they don't know the answers themselves. They now have a place to go and look up the information to talk to their kids about. But really, with gender identity, it's about just listening.
Do you know what's interesting is that when I was a kid, and I have to just stress that I'm kind of old. I'm 62, but I remember when I was a kid, we didn't say you could be anything you want to be, but we did say a boy can be an effeminate male. We used to have that expression, or a masculine girl. You could be that, or tomboy is what they would say. So it's like physically you are defined, but in another sense you are kind of fluid, not in the sense of having sex, but in the sense of the things you seem to be geared towards, I guess. I don't even know how to finish my sentence there.
Yeah, well, I think that part of what you're asking about is maybe what's the difference between an effeminate man, right, and then a trans woman. So a person who is identified as a girl at birth but identifies as a trans woman. So somebody who's identified as a man at birth but identifies as a woman grow up. And what's the difference there between an effeminate man and a trans woman. And if you talk to effeminate men, many of them will tell you, well, I'm not a woman. And if you talk to a trans woman, they will tell you, I'm a woman. I'm not an effeminate man. And so it's about listening to what they say about what it feels like to be them.
The conversations that you typically think of with the birds and the bees question are usually from young children. The story I kind of half told you there was from a nephew who was probably 15 and probably had his first girlfriend. So his questions to his mom, which blew her away, which she laughed at when she told me about them, but it had to do with the actual act of sex. And probably he had seen something, I don't know, maybe something pornographic, I don't know. But he was asking, I mean, do you have a way of dealing with that question? That seems even harder than the 6-year-old question.
Yeah, it certainly can be. And, you know, what you don't want is you don't want your 15-year-old or your 13-year-old or however old they are to then go to the internet and Google that question. That's like the worst case scenario.
That's true.
So, you know, saying, okay, like that's a really intense question. And, you know, as your parent, I may or may not feel comfortable answering it. If I don't, let me find an adult who is for you to ask that question of. And so that's where someone like me comes in, where I can answer those questions when a parent isn't comfortable. Because sometimes parents and kids, they don't want to have those really explicit conversations together, and for good reason. And, you know, finding a friend of the family or a professional who can is really important.
Oh my gosh, I'm flipping to the book, but there's some things I remember here.
You also talk about dealing with peer pressure, especially when there are drugs and alcohol. I mean, you just say no campaign seems kind of weak right now. So how do you help the students deal with that?
Yeah, that is a hard question. And again, I think that honesty is the best approach. I think that when we misconstrue and we say all drugs and alcohol are equal, and then young people have the experience of seeing that they're just not all equal. They are different. And so needing to say, well, they have different effects, and let's talk about those. Let's talk about the legal ramifications. You know, marijuana is in the news a lot right now as it's being legalized in different parts of the country and for different reasons. And let's talk about what that means in terms of our expectation and our family dynamics.
The book is so complete that I feel unfair that we have you on just for a short time. For the listeners, you got to check it out. Go to the website. The book is called Help Your Kids with Adolescence. I actually have a copy I'd like to give away. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to me. Dr. Rayne, can you recommend a website, please?
Yeah, probably my website is the best place to start, and it's Karen Rayne, KarenRayne.com. And then there is a link to get the book right there at the top.
Okay, excellent. And I did find it online real easy by just putting in Help Your Kids with Adolescence. Thank you, Karen, Dr. Rayne. We will take a little break. This is WOCA Ocala.
Now heading to Hamburg, Germany for the G20 summit after wrapping up his visit to Poland, where he gave a speech praising the courage of its people, also warning
there are dire threats.